So where the God tiers bring life and immortality, they also bring death. And in this vlog, we're going to look at the death mission and build that Tactica checklist of points to be aware of. Now, the two ways, just to kind of set the framework, because we looked at this in life that I posted up to the God tier playlist here in my channel, two ways to approach each mission. Core Tactica checklist of parameters that are always in effect in the mission, regardless of the warbands. Whether you're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, custom, regardless of the warbands that you're picking from. These are just kind of like the base rules that you're always aware of and we need to keep track of. That's what we're focusing on. And then layering over that, and we kind of touch on this with some of the champions and some of the build-specific warband tactica, certain synergies, certain champions, certain combinations are going to make certain missions a little bit easier, which, on a side note, when I play Godtear, what I like to say to my opponent is there a mission you want to play? Is there, like, we sit down to play, are you feeling like playing a specific mission? If you want to do that, then, let's do that. Let's play that specific mission. And I also give them, I know there's a draw match system, I give them first choice of the warbands and the champions. What do you want to play? Because there's enough out there that I enjoy playing. While I do have my tier 1 and tier 2 lineup, if you're like, Fritz, pick who you want to play, I'm like, boom, boom, boom. But I'm cool. There's a lot of different synergies and combos I can play. So that's kind of the first offering. What mission do you want to play? What warbands? If they don't have a preference or they want to be a little bit more competitive, what I like to do is figure out how many warbands we want to play and then pick back and forth. So you pick one champion, I pick one champion. You pick, I pick. Give you first choice. Then we roll for mission. So this way, there's some random. I have to decide 1 in 6 chance core missions, no custom missions. Do I load up on certain warbands to give me an advantage? But then if I don't roll that mission, I'm going to be hurting. Do I take one that can play across? There's a lot of tactica. So that's kind of the approach to the missions. This is why understanding the underlying tactica checklist of parameters, of things to be aware of in each mission is important. So this way you have at least a foundation of, regardless of what warbands you're playing or you're facing, the champions, you've got a foundation. All right, so we're jumping into death. We've got a core cluster of God tiers in the center of the table. We've got one to the left. We've got one to the right. So the first question, of course, is in the parameters, you are going to be removing 2 tiers, 2 objective hexes every single turn. So they're going to be shrinking, literally death. What this means is, based on the removal process, the ones on the side have less. They're going to get eaten up potentially first before the center mass. So that right there puts stress on the center mass. Second to that is the ones on the left and the ones on the right. If I take out the left side, so this would be my perspective of the gaming table. If the one tier cluster on the left gets completely removed, that leaves center and right. If I'm on that left side, I can only radiate out to the center. This also means controlling the center is key for this mission, because if I control the center, those tiers will potentially be around the longest. And if they get removed, then I can move to the left or to the right, and I only have to cross half the table. Where if I cluster up and castle up on the immediate left or right side, they get removed. Now I have to cross the other side of the table to potentially move to it. So generally speaking, we want to control the center of it. Now the other parameters to look at, are there potential warbands or situations in play where tiers can become generated? Can they become generated? And are there special synergies? And this is now where the warband tactics come into play to layer over. If Shale and Landslide are in play and Landslide gets killed, that becomes an objective that can possibly populate stuff. If I have synergies where I've got Rattlebone that can plant, but then I have a special ability that allows me to move a banner or plant a banner outside of the normal phase, can I capitalize on that? Very, very rare instances, but given that death is reducing tiers and most of the other missions increase tiers, that's a huge Tactica plus, so to speak. So now, just using the example of Shale and Landslide, I have to decide, do I not want to kill Landslide for the game? That's okay. I'm not going to do that because he's not a champion. And, he hits okay. He can be buffed up, but he's more of a supporting type character, bodyguard for Shale. Maybe I don't want to create that. So looking to dominate the center for the most part in death is where we want to be. If you do gang up on one side, realize that there's the potential that those will get removed as you win. Now that pushes you to turn 3 for the overall win rather than continuing out on the game. But in having those removed or having 2 removed and then I contest that one and we're battling it out, what you could do is look to load up in the beginning of the game. A perfect example would be having a champion that gets the bonus points at the end of the phase for the banner, or having a champion that gives you the +1, the greens when you plant it, blues at the end, green on that turn. Do I front load turn 1 and turn 2, castle up on that one side, get the lead in the battle tokens on the ladder, and then as those tiers go away, I can no longer claim. Depends on how many warbands are in play. Depends on the type of champions and how fast they can move. But generally speaking, again, going back, I want to try and control that center because then I can radiate out to the left to claim or contest, or radiate out to the right to claim and contest. And I have that cluster of tiers in the middle that's going to be around the longest. And if I happen to have some warbands in play that can manufacture tiers either temporarily or permanently, if I'm in that cluster in the center, then that seems to populate a little bit more to make planting banners or crushing banners with a little bit more synergy. So just on that, it's going to position us. It's going to give us some ideas to build that checklist. And then, again, looking at the warbands and the champions in play to see how does that make it a little easier or how does it make it a little bit more difficult.